Good evening, you guys, and welcome to another interview with the Witches series here on Triple Chalice Tarot. I am your host tonight, Aluna, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Taruk Fashaw.
Good evening, everyone.
And we have a very special treat. I'm so excited. I'm just kind of fangirling here. Tonight, we will be interviewing the deck creator, of the Dust2Onyx Tarot, This is a melanated tarot deck, and from all the graphics that we'll be posting on our Triple Chalice Tarot page, the beauty is just radiating from this deck. I'm so excited to have her here on the show with us tonight. A warm welcome to Courtney Alexander, the creator of the Dust2Onyx Tarot.
Hey, everybody.
What's tea, girl? How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Pretty good. So, how was that full moon? Look at me. How was that full moon energy last night? Did you get you some?
Oh, girl, I got some last night. I'm getting me some tonight. I was kind of tired last night, but but it's at 100% now, so I just had to come out and be in it, you know.
Right. So wishing everybody good full moon blessings. And let's go ahead and talk about this deck because I'm just so overrating and just so thrilled that you've taken up this, this medium to produce such a deck. Now, I just first want to say that there are not many African-based decks out there. I think we can probably count them on two hands, the total of decks that are out there that are African-based or melanated central. So I want you to could you go in a little detail about what inspired you to create this deck?
Well, I definitely knew that I wanted to create a deck that resonated with me. I had been on search for a deck. I'm still fairly new to tarot. And so aside from using the traditional Rider-Waite, I was looking for a deck that just really connected with me intuitively because I wanted to strengthen that area of my life. And I just had such a difficult time finding a deck that just, aside from appreciating the aesthetic beauty of a deck, that just really felt like it connected with me on this spiritual level that made me feel like, okay, this is a relationship building deck, So I decided that, I would like to create a deck, and it also kind of was a way for me to kind of take my artwork in a new area because before I was already dealing with archetypes, art history, and inserting my own form. And so just dealing with archetypes and different things like that and just kind of challenging them, that was already what I was working in. So tarot felt like a very natural progression into challenging tarot by inserting our own people and aesthetic that was, unlike what's out there. So I won't say that it was this intentional thing. Yeah. It wasn't this overly intentional thing where I was like, do something different to that degree. Like I had no idea that the cards would look the way they look. I kind of went through times where I was trying to sketch and plan, and then life happened and I put it on the back burner for a bit. And then when I jumped back into the work, it all just started to flow out naturally. I had a dream, actually two dreams where I saw these black portraits. And they were these beautiful portraits where the background was a matte black, and the figure was painted in a high gloss black. So that's the only way you could see the figure is through the reflection. And then the clothing and other things in the picture was painted these beautiful jewel tones. Like it's gorgeous paintings that I saw in my dream. And so I went ahead and allowed that to be the inspiration behind me working with that type of black portrait theme in this work.
Oh, just so gorgeous, yes. And it's so funny that it's just so amazing of how this came intuitively through you and to you. Do you feel that this was like a calling from the ancestors? Do you feel like this was something that you picked up from the Akashic side? Or, because you spoke about this being coming to you in the form of a dream. Do you feel that way?
Yes, I definitely do. Aside from the visual inspiration that coming in the dream, I had another dream in the beginning of the summer where long story short, I woke up in the middle of the night and I saw a shadow figure that looked like my nephew. And the figure startled me, and so when I went to turn the light on, I felt this jolt in my stomach, and I woke up screaming, and it freaked me out, right? And I go to work that morning, barely having any sleep, and I call my aunt, who's, a very spiritual woman, and she kind of teaches me everything I know about this walk, and she was just calming me down and just telling me it was going to be okay, that nothing attacked me. But actually that day I went into my job as normal. By the time I got home, I found out that I had lost my job. And after that, I kind of spiraled into this anxiety and depression and all of this fear, and I was really dealing with stuff, and I was still having more dreams. And then I went home, and my nephew and my nieces were home with my family when I went to visit. And him and I had this moment when we were in the kitchen, and he laid his head on my stomach right where I felt that sensation. And he just had his face turned up towards mine, and he had the most blissful, beautiful look on his face that even my mom noticed it, and she tried to go take a picture, but he snapped out of it. But it was just really unusual, not like usual kitty joy, like, oh, I'm comfortable. It was like, I couldn't even describe to you how blissful his face looked. So it's almost like he sensed something in there. And so from when I came back home a couple weeks later, pretty much the work started coming out for the deck, and looking back on that dream now, even though I was in this place of fear to not really understand it, I do truly believe in my heart that that was the moment where something happened, and even my tarot readings, there was so much about birth and expectancy. I almost thought I was physically pregnant, but I was like, I know this uterus on lockdown. I can't. It can't be that. But it, Spirit had me scared for a second. Right. I was a little scared, but I believe it was the deck. I do now.
Oh, wow. That's so beautiful, Taru. What do you think about that?
It's absolutely amazing. I'm just like in shock, So Courtney, I wanted to ask you a question. Like, what was your process in developing these paintings? I mean, what were the mediums that you used? Was it I think it was a charcoal? Was it actual like oil painting? Can you speak on your process as far as like developing these masterpiece works of art?
Well, I've been working on Bristol paper, which is like a thick, smooth paper, and I spray paint the background black, so it's not actual black paper. So I spray paint the background, and then I've been working with pan pastel, and you don't know what pan pastel is. It's like pastel, the colorful chalk, art chalk, you want to call it that, but they have pan versions that almost look like makeup pots. And those are, to me, those are really nice in regards to getting that, blending together and stuff. So I've liked working with that medium, and so I've used that to get the figures out there. And, I've just done some highlights in some of my darker areas in acrylic paint, just to really up that contrast. And then the rest of it is just collaging. I collage using one set of magazines, and that's V magazine. Like,
oh, nice.
I had this random collection of V magazines, like maybe 15 of. I've had them for years, and I just kept them, and they're a great high quality magazine, and that's where all my material started coming from. And then I also use reference images, and so I've used references. One of the more obvious ones is the Emperor, which is Grace Jones.
Oh, yeah.
But I also use Grace Jones for the High Priestess.
Oh,
the High Priestess. Yeah, the High Priestess was also used from an image of Grace Jones. So some of them you can't really tell because once the work came out, like the faces became what they needed to be. It wasn't about making something look like Grace Jones. It was just, me appreciating the energy of that photo. Once I see a photo reference that just gives me the energy of the card, then I work from that. But I still allow it to flow and be what it needs to be. It doesn't need to be an exact replica. Your son is actually Willow Smith.
Really? Girl, we
it was
all the well, definitely we will be posting your Instagram, Facebook, and also your Dust2Onyx website so people can go and take a look at these beautiful images themselves. But you went ahead and answered my question. I was going to ask if I was seeing a lot of like Grace Jones, and I was going to say, did you pull different people, maybe celebrities, or do you see yourself in the deck as well? Did you implement yourself in the deck as well?
Not yet. I thought about it, but I haven't yet. But I'm thinking about maybe doing an alternate card.
I'm seeing a little bit of you in the Empress, though. I really am.
it ended up looking like me. I actually used the photo reference of a friend, and like I was like, oh my gosh, you know, this wonderful singer, her name is Gervais Anthony, and I've just always fangirled after her and her spirit and her energy, and I asked her to use a photo as a reference and everything, and it ended up kind of looking like me.
Wow.
So but I wasn't going for likeness as much as, like I said, it was more about the energy, and her as a person. I requested to have a photo of her, and she so graciously offered me one.
That's awesome.
And I worked from that because I definitely wanted to insert like full figured women into this deck. And I mean, nothing says that like the fertility and the health and just the creativity, the motherly energy of the Empress. You know?
Empress, right,
Absolutely,
right.
Absolutely.
Beautiful card.
Yes.
Yeah.
Courtney,
so,
I want to ask you a
yeah.
question. Can you speak on your history of tarot? Like, when did you discover tarot? You know, what was your introduction to it? Like, can you speak on that?
It's funny that I'm at this point in my life because early in life I was really fearful of tarot. I grew up in a traditional Christian household, and like John Hagee had this, and I was like super saved back when I was a teen, and I remember when I was all into John Hagee and his Hellfire and Brimstone. It was just like, you know, I remember him telling this story about how he went to do an exorcism on a woman, and she used tarot cards, and he kind of made it seem like it was the tarot cards that were evil and possessing her. And that really, really put a negative spin in my head about tarot and gave me this fear about it, even as my spirituality started to open and expand. I was still fearful for a while. Like, I had a woman back home that I still go to every now and then, and she's a clairvoyant, and her and I, we talk, and she really speaks into my life. But I preferred her because she didn't use cards.
Okay.
Yeah, and so in the past couple of years, I started becoming more comfortable. I would go with a friend who would get a reading, or I might get a reading here or there, and I still was afraid to use them myself. I still wasn't sure about them, but then I started using tarot apps. And I think using the apps electronically kind of helped take some of the mysticism out of it for me. Instead of having this object that's in my room sitting on my desk and I'm thinking it's possessed, it's something on my phone, right? And so it feels a little less intimidating. And so then when I realized how great of a tool they are, because they're really just, it's all us, right? Our intuition flows through us like another language. So whatever language your intuition speaks, you're going to be drawn to the divination that works for you. You can read absolutely anything. If you want to go out there and read the blades of grass, you can read the blades of grass.
Hello.
There is nothing special about anything. Whatever your spirit, whatever language your intuition speaks, that's what you're going to read with, you know, and really kind of speak to people from. There are people who read water. There are people who read, you know, stones, whatever.
Fire.
So once I realized that fire, incense, smoke, anything can be read, you know. You can read boo-boo.
Okay, you sure can. You sure can.
I know somebody done did it. Somebody did it. So everything's game when it comes to spirit. And so once I got to that place, I jumped out there and bought a deck. My first deck was the Aquarian deck, and honestly, the Aquarian deck has been a great deck to me. It's the imagery, that Art Deco imagery and stuff, I really use it for deep spiritual work. The Rider Waite for me is good for just surface issues, or if I'm reading for other people and it's not like as intense of an energy for me. And so those are the two decks that I mainly work with. And I do have the Crystal Tarot, but it uses pips. But honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not as comfortable with pips yet. I prefer illustrations.
You have to know your stuff if you're gonna work with pips. So, I have a question for you. I just love how transparent you were on the Kickstarter page about your process going into the date expectancy and just everything else concerning, you know, this dream, this birthing that you're having with this deck. Do you believe this project is bigger than yourself, and could it take on a life of its own? Do you believe that it's
Oh no, I'm sorry. Finish your question.
No, go ahead. That was pretty much it. Do you feel like this deck has the chance to really resonate within the archives of time and just have people gravitate towards it? You know, what's your mission statement in creating this deck? You know, what purpose do you hope it serves to the tarot community or the spiritual community as a whole?
I think when I first started working on this deck, I didn't realize the power that was going to be in it. I think that I definitely, for my own creative reasons, wanted to experience creating tarot, but it's not like I went into it like, oh my gosh, I'm going to make this deck that's going to change the world. You know, I didn't go into it like that. But once the imagery started coming forth, I was like, oh, this ain't just for me. This is not just me. And it's so funny, I was thinking the other night, even when I sit in the area that I create the decks in, I feel really woozy. I was like, man, the energy right here is really strong because I work near my computer desk, and so I also eat there, and I also watch all my anime there, and everything happens at that desk. But when I sit there and I'm just like casually there and not working on the deck, like I feel the energy. I'm like, something is right here. You know, so I'm just like, okay, yeah, you know, now I'm starting to realize that, yeah, I give myself some credit for, yes, I went to art school and I learned how to draw and paint and do all of these things, but sometimes I look at the deck and be like, I walk in, I have them all hanging up on my wall in my creative area, so I see all of them every day.
I know that must look so beautiful.
Yeah, I say hi to them when I walk in the door. I be like, hey, y'all. You know, so when I see them hanging up, sometimes I still kind of in awe, like, this is coming from me. Like, I had no idea that they would be what they are, but now that they're here and this birthing is happening, I still feel like I'm in that process, like I'm in labor and with it, you know. But now that it's coming out into the world, it's just like a baby. You kind of realize, like, oh my gosh, this is a real child that's going to grow into something. And at some point, I'm not going to be able to control it and tell it what to do. It's going to be everything that it wants to be. And my job, just like it is for a mother, is to give it everything that it needs to be that. So that's why I try and take as much responsibility in the process, and I can't say that I know it all. I can't say that I have it all. I can't say that my life is perfect and all together behind this deck. I've been going through my trials behind creating this deck, you know, and I've been alone in the process of a lot of it, and I accept whatever help I can get. But it's like being a single mother. It really is. But it's all necessary because I know that I have to lay the foundation. Like there's no other choice for me in my life but to make sure that this deck comes forth no matter what it takes. Like, that's how I feel. And I've never felt that strongly. I've had a lot of ideas in my life, but this is one of those things where it just cannot fail. It cannot not happen. It has to happen. And, you know, whatever the process it comes forth from, I got to kind of flow with the universe. But I'm going to, at each step of the way, keep the faith, keep the positivity, and do everything I can and learn my lessons along the way.
Yes, girl. I feel like we're on Oprah right now with this. And that is why, you know, when I first came across this deck and just came across you as an artist, I was just, girl, I told you when I spoke to you, I was just so captivated and gravitated towards your energy, you know, and just how humbling you are with bringing this forth and being so transparent, being honest, because a lot of times, and we spoke about this on a prior show, you know, a lot of times it's like you look at people in the spiritual community and they try to make it seem like everything is just so roses and flowers and they're in this constant state of zen, you know, and it's like there's trials and tribulations that comes along with being spiritual too. There's uncertainty and not having them all that comes with having that connected connection with the divine universe and being able to receive answers and things like that. But we're still people too, you know what I'm saying? We still go through our lessons and our trials and tribulations. So it's just so beautiful to have you just be so transparent with your audience. And I honestly think that's what's going to make people gravitate towards this deck and why I wanted to use this platform, you know, as small as it may be, to spread the message and share this out there with people that this deck is coming, because it carries more than just you and us being a part of the community as a whole. It's really, and I told you this when I gave you a reading, but that's neither here nor there. But it's going to have a lot of people just gravitate towards it and just really, it's going to be an awakening process, I think, for a lot of people with this and the imagery. So
yeah, and that's what I love. And like, I'm all about authenticity. I went through so many self-esteem issues, and like, I got to a point where acceptance means being real, and not meaning that I walk around with this idea that I love myself because, you know, can't nobody tell me nothing, but I accept my suffering and I accept the beauty in every aspect of my life, my flaws, everything. And so I try and bring that into whatever I do. And I was talking to my brother this morning because he was like, he's finally seeing everything that's going on, and he called to congratulate me, and we had this deep conversation, and we talked about, he gave me this great analogy of a slingshot, and how sometimes to catapult ourselves to where we need to be, we kind of got to be pulled back. And, you know, we were talking about that, and I told him, I was like, and we got to remember that when you're in that slingshot and you're being pulled back, it takes strain, and it takes tension and discomfort before you're sent off. And so sometimes we think that pull back needs to be all like we're pulled back in a lounge chair and we just chilling until it launches us off. And no, life ain't like that, you know.
Right.
It really takes going through that process. And I think sometimes we glorify the story afterwards. We hear of these celebrities, we hear of these other people that inspire us that went through it, right? And we're like, man, and they're there. But somehow we're able to appreciate their suffering, but we always still skip to the success in regards to where we want to be. And we still forget that trial is real for everybody, no matter what you want to achieve.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We all have to go through it. So that's why I believe in being transparent. I believe in being honest even through this process and everything. I believe in integrity. That's why I even chose Kickstarter as a platform as opposed to Indiegogo, because I believe in accountability and that every single cent that I get will go to the success of this deck. And I don't want anyone to ever feel like it went towards anything else. And not even when I first started planning, I was blessed to be in connection with a backer of past decks. Her name is Rita Ware, and she's also a tarot reader. And she was just really gracious and had these great long conversations with me, giving me her experiences as a backer. And that really, really informed me because I honestly had never backed a Kickstarter project. So her insight really helped me understand how to properly plan this campaign to ensure that everybody is, you know, I'm not just getting the funds that I needed, but the backers are getting what they really want, and that they're, you know, completely thought of throughout this process, because y'all are the ones making it happen. I'm creating the work, but I couldn't make it go out into the world without you guys. So I'm also thankful for her.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so I have a question for you, Courtney. You know, I want to go back to, you know, like earlier on in your life. Like, so you said that you were, you know, from a Christian household originally. So, like, what spiritual practices do you follow now? Do you still hold Christianity to, you know, like your default spiritual standard, or like, or have you, you know, studied more African type of spiritualities? Like, where are you spiritually wise?
Honestly, I'm kind of in limbo, to just be real about it. There's a part of me that still have that structure there of Christianity, not, you know, like I have a Bible on my altar that I have turned to a psalm that I've always used for protection, right? Or, you know, I still find myself saying, thank you, Jesus, or something like that, because it's so ingrained, right? The references. Right. And, you know, oddly enough, the creation of this deck is helping me break down the barriers to my fear of Black mysticism. Because in the world, we have come to fear Black mysticism. Yes. I mean, people, can be afraid of Black pagans and Wiccans and stuff like that, but there is a very deep fear of African-based religion. Like, it's dark, where paganism and Wiccan is light, right? Or even in terms of people looking at Black witches, there's still not the same deep fear of it as Black mysticism. Anything dealing with religions from the African continent is just seems to be so much more entrenched in this, like, you don't want to mess with that. You can mess with a lot of stuff, but you don't want to mess with that.
Right.
And it's like, why not? And I'm still breaking that down, to be honest. But I went through a phase like, okay, I'm taking some baby steps, but I'm trying to get to that point where I'm not walking in fear of it, but I still have reverence for it and understand the power behind it. So yes, I don't play with nothing frivolously, of course.
But
I don't want to fear it because that's where I come from. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That you said that, because that is so true. There is this really dark, ingrained fear of African magic, and the reality is that African magic, West African magic, well, just African magic, period. But, like, our ancestors usually are from West Africa, so I can speak on that more than anything. But I feel like that magic is the deepest and most powerful, magic on the planet. You know what I'm saying? So that right there, I feel like was stripped from us, through the transatlantic slave trade and, the diaspora. There are still some certain parts that do hold on to, just like Haitian Bouddha is villainized and demonized, really badly. Growing up, you think that's the devil, that's evil, that, that's the worst, when in reality it's not. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a structured religion that has, its hierarchy, and, it's not evil how they say, but I love that you mentioned that, because it's so true. They villainize African spirituality so much, and they put so much fear into us, like, to stay away from it.
Yeah.
When you think of, like, animals being sacrificed, chickens, goats' heads cut off, and, zombies, and, all of this just crazy type of, just out of this world stuff, but it's to keep us away from our own spirituality, because those are our ancestors. That's in our blood. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we connect,
it's all. Yeah, and it's all in the Bible, right? We just use it symbolically when we do the communion, but we were doing it for real some centuries ago. And when you go into a church and you speak in tongues, how are you different from a voodoo priest speaking in tongues to her?
Yes.
Her spirit is all the same.
Yes.
Hello.
Now, I will say that the biggest thing that I guess that I'm encountering and trying to work out within myself when it comes to approaching African-based religion is that even though there's not physical doctrine, there are still some ideas there. Like, for example, someone asked me if they could use the deck during their menstrual because they had been taught that a woman is dirty when she's on her menstrual.
Wow.
And I do think that there's still some parts of even our African-based ancestral religions that are still somewhat tainted by patriarchy, because I'm like, why would it be bad for me as a woman? Why am I dirty? During the time that I'm bleeding. That's like saying that the window is dirtier while you're cleaning it than it is when it was dirty in the first place. So if your menstrual is about the cleansing of your body, shouldn't you technically be cleaner when you're menstruating? Because your body is already going through a release anyway. So, but because of patriarchy, of course, these things that are connected to our womanly functions and everything, we're so pulled away from it. And I think that why are only women restricted to connection with spirit during the summertime? Why are we the only ones unclean when that's the only way that this process is what allows us to birth life? How is that unclean and offensive to the guys?
Yeah.
Right.
When we were made like this. So, yeah.
I wanted to on something that you brought up earlier about, just because even in some African-based religions, they don't allow or they don't believe that a woman can be a priest. They don't believe that a woman can have that connection to the divine and speak through, our archetypical deities and gods. It's like, so I very much really appreciate this sort of womanly roar, this undocileness that's coming up from the Black female spiritual community and just sort of resonating and saying, here we are, and we are, if you're not going to accept us, then we're going to have our own community. We're going to have our own sort of stand up and come up. And it's just so beautiful to see, again, in this deck, women being in a position of real natural beauty and power. It's just so awe-inspiring, definitely awe-inspiring. So I have a question now. I have cards, so they actually fell. Let me pick up. Let me see which one I wanted to go with. So I wanted you to talk a little bit about, now you brought up about working with Kickstarter and the whole process of that. So for our audience listening that might not know how a Kickstarter project works and might not be sure if they should donate, what would you be able to tell them about the project itself and donating to the project?
Well, Kickstarter has come up with a very secure way to do donations. So you pretty much you do have to put a credit card or a debit card in, but that money does not come out until the end of the campaign and only if I meet my funding goal. I looked at options, and I know like other platforms like Indiegogo or GoFundMe allow you to keep whatever comes in. But for my own self-accountability and to not have the pressure of having funds that I can't match, I did not want any funds that I could not put towards the deck. So if I only made $5,000 or $10,000 at the worst case scenario or something like that, then I didn't want to have a bunch of people's money and still not have the other parts of the money to go ahead and bring the deck for. So now I'm just holding on to this money. And what do I tell people? Oh, well, wait till I raise another $10,000? No, all or nothing. So if I don't hit my goal, then I don't get a dime from anybody. Y'all ain't lose out on your hard-earned money. I ain't got this money over here, and now I got to be stressed about it. I don't want to start nothing until I have every cent that I need to bring the deck forth. So, so like I said, it's very secure knowing that your money is not coming out your account unless that goal is met. So if that's the security saying, hey, this project, they budgeted their finances, they met their goal, so I know that the money that was contributed was enough to get me the product that I'm investing in for their success, you know?
Right.
I
just love it.
It definitely will happen. This deck needs to be put out there because honestly,
yes.
I've never seen another deck like this. Like I know there are African decks out there, you know. I mean, I only own one deck, you know, so far. So the deck that I own is the African American deck. I don't know if you've seen that one, but this deck that your deck, I think it's a standalone type of deck. I feel like this deck completely overshadows any other. I'm sorry, it overshadows like any other African deck out there. Like this needs to be in existence. I feel like Luna said, it's gonna wake up a lot of people, especially Black people, especially people of African descent. I feel like we need this. We need this because I can see that it's speaking. You know, that deck is speaking. Like that, I can see the ancestors. Okay, like people who have been alive. you have illustrated people who have been alive. Like I'm telling you, those people have been alive. I believe it. I can see it. So that deck, it needs to happen, and it is.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And you know what? And especially in the past several months, every time I went into a spiritual store or spoke with someone, the first thing they say, you know, you're Sakurite, and you know, you got a large spirit family. Like that, I've just always been told about having like this army of spiritual ancestral family around me. And now I've been embracing it, and now I've been speaking to them, and now I've been showing them my gratitude and just allowing them to connect to me and stuff. And I may not be able to name them off, but I know they're around me and I know they're protecting me. And so now dreams make sense. My life makes sense. It's just they've always been there. And so now I feel like it's fate. I feel like for the first time in my life, I'm truly in purpose. This isn't just me going after a goal because I want to challenge myself. It feels like fate. It feels like this is what I'm here for. This is legacy, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, this is your gift to the world. You know, this is needed. Like, this is something that it needs to be on this planet. Like, it needs to be in the third dimension. That deck definitely needs to be here. It really is.
I told you, Courtney, when I was like, girl, I'm going to need you to be on this show because we're going to have to do whatever it takes to get, I mean, you really don't know. Even in the smallest scale, I'm telling you, boo, you touched so many of us already. And again, with you just being so honest and upfront about what this process is for you. And that's why I wanted you on the show, to just have people listen and really get to know the artist and the real spirit behind what is being produced. And I just appreciate that so much that you took the time and, you know, came and we talked and we kikied and you being on the show. So let's talk a little bit about promotions now. So what ultimately would you like to tell our listeners on how they could find you, how to support you, and the whole process of working with this deck right now, what would you like to say to them?
Well, I would definitely go to Facebook, facebook.com/dust2 and Onyx, Onyx. And, go on there and there's a button that says shop now that'll take you to the Kickstarter page and you'll see some posts and you'll see other imagery. So definitely liking the social media, Facebook, the Instagram, which is also Dust2 Onyx Tarot. And, just continuing to engage with me because I feed off the energy. I feed off of just the support, because this process, y'all, it ain't an easy process. It has its pressures. And in some ways, the encouragement is even more pressure, but it's the type that I need to know that, to keep remember it reminds me, you need to do this. You got to do it. You got to do it because there's parts of me I have to be real that sometimes wants to run away, and that wants to be happy at my little call center job and just going on about my day-to-day life being real regular. But then I know that I will never be happy and fulfilled in that. So, that's why I appreciate so much just the vulnerability people have had with giving me feedback and just telling me how the deck has affected them, because that really, really keeps me going. And like I said, even if you can't promote on Kickstarter, share with your friends, share with your family, share with anyone who would appreciate the artwork. They don't have to buy the deck. They can even buy the artwork because I'm doing not only digital prints, but also metal prints. I actually got a sample of the metal print, and it's really cool to see it on that metal surface. So there's just a lot of ways that people can support and just show an appreciation for the artwork. And one thing is we definitely need to see more Black artists supported.
Yes.
It's not a lot of us doing it because, let's just be real, in the Black community, security is even more of a big thing because we always have to fight between this need for security and assimilation versus us being in our true selves and being able to feel like we also deserve to live in our purpose and that the world will actually support us in it. So regardless of the realities of fat phobia and racism and sexism and all of those things, I truly keep in my mind that spirit is stronger than any of those things and that the universe is bigger than any of those things and that I will be supported regardless. And I want people to be able to see in the future that you don't have to sit there and worry about, well, I ain't going to get more support than such and such because that person is white and I'm Black. Screw that. I don't care. Because I got the universe backing me, but I want to be the evidence of that. So definitely just share and participate and let's build community around it, not for me or for me to be on a platform, but for us to all be sharing. And I would just love for this deck to bring especially our people to tarot and to another spiritual, more expansive world because, girl, especially with Christianity being so ingrained in our community.
Ingrained in our
and all this fear, I want us to break out of that. And I don't think Christianity is all bad, but I think that it's good to be free and know that you have the options, that you can expand. And you can expand to whatever feels comfortable for you, but you got choices. And sometimes people refuse to see that they have choices because they're afraid of the choices. We are more afraid of living authentically and being happy because it takes work. Pain is familiar. Restriction is familiar. And sometimes we'll stay in it because we know it. And I want our people to push past that and know that they can really do anything and be anything they want to be in this world.
Yeah, I'm on the floor right now. I'm so glad. Yes, honey, I have been drugged, laid out, hung to dry, washed, clean, everything. I'm so just happy and excited and just love your energy and love your spirit. Again, I told you I've been fangirling for you. So, yes. And with that, would you like to, I know we talked about this earlier, would you like to bring our listeners a tarot reading yourself? Would you like to go in and do a little light reading for us for the show?
Why not? You know what? Spirit works real funny because I told you, I was on my way to be outside in the full moon and I bought my deck. And apparently the deck was for y'all and not me.
Okay.
I went and changed out of my work clothes and came right back outside.
Nice.
So
whenever you're ready.
So, okay, let me just be clear. This is my first time doing a reading in this way. So is this just a general reading for all of the listeners about, how they can use the energy in their lives.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Let me go ahead to the table. I'm one of the walkers and talkers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Me too. I'm like kind of pacing back and forth right now.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. And you know what? I end up looking at my little step counter, and then I met all my goals for the day in one conversation. I was like, that's all it takes. Well, I should be losing some pounds then. But all right, so I'm gonna go ahead and shuffle the cards. So I might be quiet for a moment while I just get my stuff together.
Mhm.
All right. Wow, these are intense cards. Goodness gracious. Come on now, y'all.
What's going on? Give us the tea, girl. What's happening?
Well, I think that these cards really just speak to the energy that's at work right now, especially with the full moon in Pisces. We have the Five of Cups. We have the Knight of Pentacles reversed. And we also have the Queen of Cups reversed. And then we have the Seven of Swords at the bottom of the deck. And I like to work with the bottom of the deck as an idea of the, general energy working around. And I see the Seven of Swords. If we're just going to talk about just this base energy, I see the Seven of Swords about conquering or being conquered.
Mm-hmm.
And, only you know what side of that you're on. But I think that that's a very interesting idea considering, the Five of Cups. This is just about kind of, you're focused on the negative,
the
right?
Sadness,
you're just kind of looking all the, you're just in sorrow. You don't see that you still got two more cups behind you and you can do a lot with that, but you just focused on the three spilled out in front of you. The Knight of Pentacles is kind of stopped in his tracks because he's really practical. He's a planner. He, wants to go out there in the world and make it happen. And he also has the power to make it happen. He's not as brash as the Knight of Swords or the Knight of Wands, and he's not as, just in his feelings and wishy-washy as the Knight of Cups. He's a responsible brother.
Yeah.
And then you have a Queen of Cups who, of course, is very nurturing. She's very sensitive and, just very sweet. If I think of her as her sister queen, she's the more, I don't want to say weak one, but there's always that one that's a bit more sensitive and soft and gentle. And
yes.
I think of the Queen of Cups being like her. So it's interesting to have the energy of these three cards here. And I think it speaks to the need to heal and a lot of the imbalance that people are feeling right now because there are jobs that are being lost. There are people losing family and friends that are really close to them because there really is a healing that needs to take place. And so with this idea of the Seven of Swords and conquering, which is to me like this very type of Mars idea, right? Mm-hmm. And to me, Mars is connected not only to Aries, but I see Mars being somewhat,
it's
I don't want to say like
power. It's associated with the Tower as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Tower, which is really interesting. And I kind of see Mars and Pluto are really interesting to me. Like, their energies are very different, but somehow I can't think of one without the other.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's just something very powerful and impactful and very destructive about both of those forces, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that these cards, especially with the Seven of Swords, are, and in my image, especially with the Aquarian deck, which is what I'm using, it's just this guy. He doesn't necessarily look victorious in the picture. He just is carrying these bunch of swords. He's leaving two behind. So it's almost like getting the lessons you can get out of it. You know, swords are about intellectual ideas and all types of, you know, about air essentially and everything that's associated with it. All of these things that are going on in the cards, all of the imbalance, get what you can get out of it, because there is a season coming that all of these things are going to come together and it's going to make sense. And you will be able to turn the energy of these cards upright. The swords that he does have in his hand, he still has the power to do something with it. And it's so funny because in comparison to the Five of Cups, the Five of Cups is focusing on what he doesn't have, but the Seven of Swords focuses on what he does. And so I think that's a very important idea.
I almost feel like the reading is saying how just even getting using these setbacks, these tragedies, these disappointments as a learning lesson and a learning tool to keep going. You know, a lot of times, it's like you said, a lot of times, a lot of us have this fear of being stretched back in the slingshot before we catapult forward. A lot of us have a fear of being, excuse me, quote unquote, vulnerable, because with the Seven of Swords, how I see it, or it's like it's hiding. You know, so it's about hiding your feelings. And with the the Five of Cups, you know, it's like I said to you in the show earlier. A lot of people don't like to be transparent about what's really going on. We like to make it seem like because we're spiritual and because, you know, we have this connectivity to the universe, we can't have a bad day, we can't vent, we're just always pitch perfect. And it's like that creates an imbalance because you don't feel like you can be authentic. You don't feel like you can say, I'm hurting, you know, I'm healing. And it's funny, I made a post on my account, my Instagram account, and the cards that I picked, it was living in harmony with the mystery and the cosmic butterfly. And, you know, the butterfly goes through a death-like transformation. And sometimes you don't know what that transformation is going to come as or in the form of. It may be tragedy. It may be triumph. But at the end of the day, you know, you have to live in harmony with the things that you can't ultimately control, and being okay with saying that, like, I don't know everything. I don't have all the answers. So I definitely, what do you see with the reading, Taruk?
I mean, I agree with everything you guys are saying. I mean, you know, I definitely agree with what you guys are saying. So, yeah. I like
it's interesting because sometimes, out of curiosity, I might pull, like, just some extra cards because I really feel like once you shuffle a deck, you can lay out every single card and the whole deck tells the story. So, I pulled Temperance, the Hangman, and then the Ace of Cups as the next card.
And you know that Ace of Cups has been following you around.
Yeah, oh my God, yeah. It's been following me around in both positive and negative ways. It's really about balance of emotions, right? And so Temperance came up for me a lot. I was definitely dealing with that, and Temperance is definitely all about balance and just finding a sense of harmony. And the Hangman is about new perspective. And so, you know, actually I can't, because the way I pulled them. Now I can't remember the way I pulled them, so I can't tell which one is reversed and which one is not. But the Temperance and Ace of Cups are both facing the same direction, and then the Hangman is facing another in the middle.
I think this reading is saying definitely allowing yourself, all of us as people, okay, let us all be authentic, let us all be human, let us all be okay with saying we're not okay. You know, it's about the balancing of the emotions, because when you, especially with Pisces, a watery energy with this full moon, I spoke about this on another post of mine. It's like, if you kind of put on this thing where like everything's just always okay, and you bury those real tensions, those soul tensions and stress and things like that, they will manifest themselves one way or another. The Pisces in tarot is represented by or is associated with the moon card. And the moon card talks about the shadow realm. It talks about the subconscious. So, just because you don't wear it on the forefront doesn't mean it just goes away. It buries itself deep into your soul, and it manifests as bad dreams, negative karma, negative situations, and you're kind of like sitting there with like, okay, I'm trying to have this positive outlook. I'm trying to, think about more, be positive, but I don't see a change. I constantly am facing this struggle. And it's like, no, you have to go in there and do some soul healing and do some real. And if you need to cry, honey, if you need to, go on a tidbit and a rant and just say online or say in a video or just say somewhere, this is what it is and this is how I'm dealing with it, or this is how I feel, then do that. We have to get these deep-seated buried emotions out. They cannot stay buried within us. So in the Ace of Cups, emotions again, the Temperance, a watery card, emotions again. So definitely is what I'm picking up with you. You're beautiful reading. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yay! Wow.
Okay. Okay, well, we have had us a long kiki tonight, and I just want to let everyone know that we will be posting all the link information on our YouTube page. If you're just tuning in with us or just listening to our show, we welcome you and thank you for tuning in. We want you to follow us on our Instagram page at Triple Chalice Tarot and also on our YouTube. Triple Chalice Tarot as well. You can also, we'll leave the links to our personal accounts in the description box and the accounts of the lovely Courtney Alexander. I want to thank you so much, girl, for being on the show. Your energy is just the queen, honey. You're the queen, the empress. You're just, I love it. I love it. And I'm just so glad, yes, you could be with us here tonight. So is there anything in closing you'd like to say, Taruk?
Well, Courtney, thank you so much. It was a pleasure and an honor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it was a pleasure and an honor to have you on the show, Courtney. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. What were you going to say, Courtney?
Oh, I just was going to first of all, say thank you to everyone thus far who has sent kind words, who've sent feedback, advice. I'm a very open book. I'm very responsive. So anytime you guys have a question or anything or you just want to say something, I respond to everything within a day. So I definitely interact with the community, and I'm just so thankful for all of the love and support, and I'm very thankful to you guys for allowing me to be on your show, and just for the appreciation and the support and the good energy on the show and even off the show. It's been a beautiful experience so far, and this project has really connected me with some wonderful people. And honestly, I'm all about relationships and harmony. That's that Libra moon in me, so I'm digging this.
Yes.
I'm all about this. So thank you guys. I truly love y'all. I really do. My heart is really still.
Yes, girl. You see that this is Pisces coming out right now. It got everybody feeling super emotional. I've just been so sentimental with my friends and family members too. So definitely I'm feeling the vibe. I'm sure our listeners are feeling the vibe too. Hope you guys are picking up on this good energy. Go support the Dust2Onyx Tarot. Guys, we have to have this deck in our hands, honey. Let's put in the donations, boo. And other than that, we want to thank you guys so much again for tuning into this show, and we will see you guys on the next one. Take us out, Taruk.